is. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, and I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine.
And a good Wednesday to everyone. Nice to have you aboard. A beautiful day, maybe the last day. According to the weather report I see, next 6 days, rain. Chance of rain every day for the next 6 days. My neighbor started to build the ark. I am worried about that. Who knows? No, just kidding there. So yesterday was interesting. As soon as I got off the air, I'm listening to my guys, Johnny Radio being off, to J-Mo and Bryant Dacus, and they break the news that Dylan Brooks, the hero of J-Mo, Dylan Brooks is gone. So let's just start with how this story is told. I would not say this is a leak, because that's not the way it works. I would call it a give. And it just seems to me the way it goes is that when a front office breaks a story, for whatever reason, the front office breaks the story through ESPN's Woj. Wojnarowski is the guy that gets all the stories, it seems to me, from general managers, people inside the organization, maybe owners for all I know. He's well connected. When a story is leaked by Shams, like this one was, who writes for The Athletic, and all these stories are now broken by national people, Woj or Shams. And when the story is broken by Shams, to the best of my knowledge, it appears to be it is through an agent. He's the agent's mouthpiece. So to the best, if I'm guessing, to the best of my knowledge, Dylan Brooks' agent broke this story. He gave it to Shams, and they wanted it out there. Now, you remember I said it seemed to me that during the exit interviews, Dylan Brooks wanted out. Now, here's what I don't know. Did Dylan Brooks already get told that in the wording, which I don't know if this wording is really right, because this is not the way the Grizzlies normally operate, right? Under any circumstances, you will not be back. I have a hard time buying that one. I wonder if that's embellished by the Brooks agent or that side or whoever gave that story to Shams. My guess is it was not worded exactly that way. But there's one of two things that occurred in all of this. The petulant attitude of Dylan Brooks was either because he was told the Grizzlies did not want him back before the exit interview, and that was his reaction. I'm not changing. They didn't use me right. I'm more than a 3-and-D guy. Yeah, call plays for a guy who can't shoot, right? When you've got Bane, you've got Jackson, you've got Morant. Like you should be the priority? But was that the reason he was so petulant? Or was it after he was so petulant that the Grizzlies said, this dude doesn't want to be here? We've already said we're not talking the talk anymore. We're just walking the walk. Tone things down. Well, he obviously was not on the same page with that. He was going, I'm not changing. I'm me. I tell the world the truth. And the criticism of management with which the way he was used, it can only be one of those two things. He either had gotten that news and that's why he was so petulant, or he was basically telling the Grizzlies, I don't want to be here. I don't like the way you used me. I'm not changing. I'm going to talk. I'm going to be a heel. It works for me. I don't care if it works for you. It's got to be one of those two things. And I don't know which one came first.
What do you think Dylan stands to gain, or his camp stands to gain from leaking that?
That's a good question. Maybe to find out what the early interest is and how they strategize as to where they're going to go. You know, there is the possibility of a sign and trade. We were debating that, I believe, yesterday.
I was looking at the rules for that as well, and it seems like the money he would potentially make, it would put the Grizzlies over whatever the apron level is of the salary cap.
It's a tough position to be in. And the other aspect that I don't know all the nuances of these deals. I'm going to tell you up front. But from what I've read, the other aspect of this that's really interesting is that you can't use players in a trade of a sign and trade now. It has to be picks. Now, the Grizzlies have plenty of those. Those picks probably aren't going to be as valuable as they once were going to be because the Golden State Warriors are better than everybody thought, and Memphis is better than everybody thought when all these picks were getting accumulated. So they're all going to be, in the 20, 30 range? None of them are going to be lottery picks. But that I think is where you're at. I mean, if you do a sign and trade to get some value for that, if you were able, let's say, to send him back to Canada and Toronto, which he's from the Toronto area, I'm pretty sure, and I would believe that's where he'd really want to be. If you could strike a deal to get Anunoby, well, that would be incredible. But will they take picks? Because that's the way it's got to work. And I think the flexibility issues for Zach Kleiman are tough. As has been pointed out, it's much easier to break up with someone than to find that replacement, especially when you've got salary cap limitations and the league knows the position you're in. You don't have much leverage in all of this. So Zach Kleiman's skills, of which he has been immensely successful, they are going to be put to the test in this deal because they got to find somebody. And I don't think he wants to give up any of the big three. And what else is there that would be enticing to another team to make any kind of deal? And would Toronto, for instance, can you fit in salary cap limitations with picks and everything else that would make a deal like that work? Personally, I liked Dylan Brooks early on. I first met him. I've said this before. He was a true gentleman. I met him at the wine and food deal at the Botanic Gardens, I think after his rookie year, 5 years ago. And he was a delightful guy. Why he chose to become this persona of being a heel and so petulant, I don't know. Maybe he thought he could cash in on it. You know, he went Dennis Rodman. And I really do not understand the motivation behind it. Did it work for him? I don't know. I guess we'll find out by where he ends up landing. But he was an effective player for Memphis. I'm not going to say he wasn't. I just think at the end he was not. He was not a great defender in the Lakers series, and he was a liability on offense. They were daring him to shoot. There certainly, in my mind, seemed to be, for the first time, a little dissent within the locker room about him. I always thought his teammates really loved him up until, at some point this year. And it didn't help at all with his spat with Draymond Green, because the LeBron thing was really stupid, but it started with Green. He's trying to go at people for no apparent reason. Now, Draymond Green's no angel either in all of this, but to me, that was the beginning maybe of some disconnect within the team and Dylan Brooks. And frankly, you've got to be a guy that goes, okay, I'm not making shots from beyond the arc, but I'm a good shooter inside the arc. Get me to the elbows. Now, maybe he was miffed because he's trying to say, well, they're not running plays for me to get to the elbow. They want me to stand behind the line. So, yeah, I'll keep shooting that way. You shouldn't be doing that with 16 seconds on the shot clock, which he did an awful lot of in the L.A. series. So, we'll see. This is the first step of a mini reorganization of the Grizzlies as they try to find the pieces that you put around the three guys that are clearly going to be your cornerstone guy. I think all this stuff with Dylan, he brought upon himself. I don't know how anybody can say anything differently. I feel bad in this regard because going around the city yesterday, and I was at a bunch of different places, I hate to say this, J-Mo, you're the only guy that was really sticking up for Dylan Brooks. And you have your reasons and your schematic and analytics or whatever it may be. And I do think he was an important piece for the Grizzlies for a long period of time. But he undid himself, and public opinion seems to be good riddance. That's the overriding majority feeling I think that we have on him. Last night, man, the NBA games, again, outstanding, as was AD. Anthony Davis, what did we say yesterday? I thought I was for the Lakers. Part of that is for my pride for the Chicago Bulls. I don't want the Golden State Warriors this edition to get any more rings because the Bulls are ahead of them with 6 and they got 4. But I was worried about their perimeter shooting, but I didn't think they had an answer for AD. And here's the thing. We know that Anthony Davis has not been a consistent guy. Can he play like this? For instance, last night, do you know the company? He ends up with 30 points, 23 rebounds, 4 blocks. Do you know who else in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform has had 30 and 20 in a playoff game?
Kareem.
Well, let me tell you this. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 other guys that have done it. 3 of those all just have one name. So Kareem is one.
I would say Shaq is another one.
Shaq is another.
And that's as far as I can get with you, I'm afraid.
Wilt. And the other one does have 2 names. If he lived in this era, he would have had one name too because he was a great player at the beginning of the NBA. Elgin Baylor is his name. So he goes into company that is rarefied, right? Can he do that on a regular basis? And I got to give Golden State credit. They were down 14 with 5 minutes to go in the game, and they go on a 14-0 run. And then in the final 90 seconds, Davis with a key block, one of his 4 blocks. And then at the end, instead of working the ball longer to try to get it to Steph Curry or Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole takes it upon himself to shoot from almost 30 feet away. Now, he was wide open. They're early in the clock, wide open. And look, he's a dangerous player. They didn't leave him open on purpose, but he was so far away, he hadn't even gotten to the defense. Early in the clock, I thought that was the undoing of any chance. And AD got the rebound, and then they salted it away with some free throws from Schroeder. But basically, that was the game after he missed that 3 and ended a valiant comeback and really quieted the Chase Arena crowd.
Yeah, he did help them get back in that game, though. I mean, he had a lot of big shots, and he was shooting really well for the game. Yeah, I don't love the shot, I especially when there's a double team on the floor. I think you penetrate, and then you have a chance playing 4-on-3 to get a 3-point opportunity. and they're not going to give you that, so you have a layup, which I'm fine. I think you should have taken 2 there from the get-go, unless maybe Steph gets a shot.
Yeah, I agree, because there is time.
But at the same time, though, the Warriors, every possession is a terrible shot. You know what I mean? Like, even the shots Steph, they're all terrible shots, but they all go in at a super high percentage.
They're not terrible when Clay and when Curry take
Well, that's what I was thinking, too, is how different would the rhetoric be if Clay had taken that shot?
It would be different.
It would be totally – but Jordan Poole was shooting great, but I still think take it, too.
I agree, but I'm just saying to you, as good as Jordan Poole is, he's not Clay and he's not Curry. And
then Curry threw a tantrum, too.
If that's like 10 seconds later in the clock, okay. There's plenty of time in that clock to either get to 2 or work the ball, what they call organized chaos, which is true. And Green is so good at this, how they get that ball back and forth to one another after they set screens and move, and it's crazy how they do it. It looks like it's so freelance. I know there is an organized scheme to it all, but it's crazy stuff. And they never even tried that. He comes down, he just goes, okay, nobody's here because it's 30 feet away. And clink.
And then Steph's frustration after the fact, too, didn't help. It really just feel like it put fuel on the fire. Kind of like when Moises Alou threw his glove down after Steve Bartman reached over.
Right.
And then it just becomes a whole just out of his control, the narrative at that point.
Right.
So that was a tough situation. I would have taken it, too, but, man, he was shooting so well. I'll give him a pass this time, just the one time.
Okay. All right. So, the other playoff game last night, Knicks, Miami.
I want to say the rare moral loss for the Knicks. They won the game, and usually have moral victories. The rare moral loss.
Let me just say this. They win that game. They are the number 1 TV market, right? So, in my mind, I don't really think this is going on. Let me just put it this way. There were 2 major calls in that game that changed that game for the number 1 television market in the country. Okay? The play where Jalen Brunson hits a 3, and I'm trying to remember who goes into a screener. And what's the name of the guy that – he played great in this game for the Knicks.
Josh Hart?
No, not
Hart.
Hart.
R.J. Barrett.
No. The other big man.
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein, I think is how it's pronounced.
Very German.
Hartenstein goes down. Now, I got to tell you, they go back and they look at this, and to me, the contact is made, and Brunson is just like catching the ball. Brings it down, takes it up. And that's where it's supposed to be when your shot begins, as you bring it up. Well, hell, Hartenstein's on the ground along with the guy who ran into him. That's when the call should be made, and the ball's just getting caught. And instead, they give him 3 plus that extra point. That should have been a 2-shot foul. It ends up being 4 points. The other is late in the game when they call a shot clock violation. I think there's like a minute and a half left. And it's not. The replay shows it's not. That should have been because there was a layup made by Miami. 2 calls. That's 6 points. That's the difference. Holy moly. I mean, it changes the whole game. And that's what gives the Knicks the win to even up the series. Now, Jimmy Butler didn't play in the game. After they won that first game, it didn't really matter. They did what they wanted to do. I think Miami's got a really good chance to win the series now. But that one they got handed to even that. So it should be 2-0 in my mind, Miami. Give me your thoughts.
I thought that the domination was reminiscent of the first half of the first game where the Knicks dominated the Heat inside, both scoring, I felt, and also 20 more rebounds than the Heat did last night. That's a huge factor, too. And just the second chance opportunities. I think they did beat them in points, second chance points, but I think they had more than double the opportunities, too. Miami's got to get bigger. I mean, they really did a good job at the second half of the first game of junking up that game and really limiting what they got inside. Maybe it's more difficult when Jimmy Butler isn't on the court. The Heat played a lot of zone last night, which kind of helps them get the Knicks to get a lot of rebounds. But that size factor is going to be really big down the stretch of this game. If the Knicks control the size in the game, which it seems like they might.
Well, they got the horses.
They got the horses to do so. I think they win this series. But if they don't, then the Heat have the better team.
If they lost those 2 games, it'd be over, I think, for sure. Anyway, one last NBA thing. We're going to have Pete Pranica on. We'll talk about all of this and the Dylan Brooks story in a little bit in the next segment. But they named Joel Embiid the MVP, and it was a runaway. Remember we had this discussion, Jokic, Embiid head-to-head had better games than Jokic did when they played against one another. It was 73 votes for Embiid, 15 for Jokic. That is amazing. 12 for Giannis. So what I find is interesting is that Embiid was they're the 3rd seed. I'm not saying it's wrong because I think Embiid deserved to be the MVP to a certain extent. But I really I wish they would just call it the best player in the league. Because to me, valuable means you got to win. And they're the 3rd best team in the East, so maybe that's fair. And you should sort of look like where would the Sixers be without Joel Embiid? Well, they were pretty good the other night with Harden. So I don't know. I wish there was more clarification or a change in the way they name that. But most of the league, 73 out of all those votes, out of 100, voted for Embiid. Jason Tatum was 4th, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, he ended up 5th. Well, Oak City did make the playoffs. No problem with Jason Tatum. Not a mention of a Grizzly, who are the 2nd best team in the West.
I got 1 8th place vote.
Did he really?
Got 1. 1 on the board.
Interesting. Last thing. We got portal news. You ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
So, the portal news involving the Tigers, by the way, ain't the best news. Because it's those that are leaving. But we already knew they were leaving. There's no more defections. But we find the landing spots. Keontae Kennedy, we found out yesterday he is going to Cal. So, maybe that's a really good spot for him. It's Power 5. He'll get exposure on the West Coast, living if you've ever been to Berkeley, it's beautiful. And, he deserves a new lease on life. Good for him. I hope his hand heals. He was frustrated in a lot of different regards in Memphis. I think he thought about staying and then just decided he could see where the pastures might be greener. I hope that is the case for him. I thought he was a nice guy who was here. And then we learned this morning, it came out, where Jonathan Lawson is going. And this could be a great place for him. I hope it works for him. The last guy who transferred from Memphis to this place did not do so well. Jonathan Lawson is going to Creighton. He's going to play for Doug McDermott.
Greg
McDermott. Yeah, Doug's his brother.
Son.
Who played.
Who was the
last
player?
guy was a guy who now it's kind of a strange story. He's already at his 4th school. His name is Antoine Jones,
I don't think I know.
who had an
Antoine
NBA
Jones.
body and never really could play much. So he played in a few games for Memphis and decided to bolt before his freshman year was out. Went and sat out a year, at a redshirt year, for McDermott. The next year he played, I think he started the season in the rotation. By the middle of the season, he was out of the rotation. Then he transferred to Louisiana Tech, never showed up. Now, I believe
To the school he never showed up?
Yeah, never showed up. And now, I believe he is signed or committed, however it works, to UCF, which we won't see because they're no longer in the league. But I think he's going to UCF. So for Jonathan Lawson, the kid has a chance to be a good player. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Feet's a little slow, so he's going to have to figure out how to be a better defender. That, to me, was the weakest part of his game. Everybody talked about his three-point shooting. It was good against non-conference opponents. It was not good in the American. It was like 30% or less in the American when he took threes in league play. I do think, and I like the kid a lot. I hope that it works for him. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to get away. All this kid ever knew was Memphis. The other brothers have seen part of the world. Let's face it, Chandler, who's still here, he went to Oregon, so he's seen something else. I think it's good. I always encourage my sons to go away. They ended up coming back and going to the U of M, but they went away for a while. I thought, and still think, there is definitely more than just an education from college. It's learning culture. It's learning how to be on your own. It's figuring out the way life really is without everybody right there. And so, good for Jonathan Lawson. I hope it really works out well for him. I truly, truly do. This guy's a good coach, too. There's no doubt about it.
A good program for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Good place to be.
They went from the Valley to the Big East. And in the beginning, I thought that might have been a mistake. But I not anymore. That Big East has really helped elevate that program, and McDermott is really good. Good luck to Jonathan Lawson.
One more recruit, too. Tyler Johnson, I saw committed to Kansas State yesterday, the former Tiger commitment. That's the only one I remember. Johnson's his last name, right? Tyler Johnson? Yeah.
Tylor Johnson, yeah. All right, we got golf picks coming up in the last segment of the day. It was Mickey who was the winner this week, and Johnny was second. I don't think I made $1. Did I make $1?
I think you and I were both kind of bringing up the rear with only. You made more than me. I made $103,000. You made $179,000.
Wow!
So look at you.
I made one guy made the cut. Wow, lucky for me. They go to Quail Hollow. That's beautiful. We'll talk about that. We got Pete Pranica coming your way in a second. Hey, what a good day to go play golf. Maybe the last day without rain. Go see my friends at Miramichi. And if you're interested, they've got limited memberships still available. That means all the golf you can play, all the practice that you want on great facilities, all the range balls you can hit. Don't pay for a cart. It's a heck of a deal. It's a monthly payment. It's a membership at Miramichi, not far. 12 minutes from downtown in beautiful Woodstock. You got challenge, you got beauty, great golf, and a chance to be a member for a great price at Miramichi. Go talk to Cheryl Pardue. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studio, They have that vacation at home sale still going on. Best prices in town on pools with free liner upgrades during this sale. Also during this sale, play gyms under $2,000. Patio furniture is loaded. In-stock inventory with great prices. Special financing available. And during the sale, you mention us. Sports 56, Wolo, JMO, however you want to say it. You heard this ad on radio. They will give you half off on installation at Family Leisure. And our title sponsors, Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. One of the Hyundai dealerships, and you got to be a great dealership to get this privilege, that also sells Genesis cars. Not all the Hyundai dealerships can. They do at the corner of Highway 78, Lamar, and the first exit, Mississippi Craft Road. Turn left there. Go see Vinny Gerard. He's over all the Genesis cars. There's a deal on the G70, the smaller sedan that's a sports car. If you agree to finance with Genesis, you get a $1,000 rebate. They're paying you $1,000 to do business with them at Homer, Skelton, Hyundai, and Genesis. Back with Pete Pranica, the voice of the Grizz on TV. He is next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
There are so many ways to buy and sell houses these days. How do you choose? Well, of course, choose the right way with Chet Whitsitt. Chet has over 37 years of experience as both a broker and a sales agent. He's helped lots of people buy and sell homes, and he will help you. It's the right way, and it's that easy. Buying, selling, or referrals, check with Chet at 901-484-5689 and Cry Like Realtors at 901-756-8900. Buying or selling? Check with Chet Whitsitt.
The following is a message from the future, sent by Jamie from Progressive.
Back in 2023, you could get help from Progressive online, through our mobile app, or over the phone. But here, in the future, we can communicate with you through telepathy. Now, I don't think anyone in 2023 has mastered telepathy yet, but if you have, then you can totally read my thoughts right now. And yes, I did leave the oven on. Wow, you're good at this.
That was a message from the future. Get the help you need today with Progressive.
Do you smell smoke? I really should go.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with a set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
Are your investments going nowhere? Here's a tip that always pays big dividends. Invest in yourself, your talent, your smarts, your skills. Maybe it's time to make that investment and start a career in IT or upskill to boost your current career. At My Computer Career, you can bank on us. We'll help you get the right skills and the right certifications to start or advance your IT career. IT keeps growing, so go with the growth at My Computer Career. The right training, the right timing, the right career. Invest in you at mycomputercareer.edu. Start now.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, you know, about a week and a half away now, it's time to thank Mom. Mother's Day's coming, and Dinstall's has been busy making her favorite gift. That's chocolate. Whether it's milk or dark or super dark, that's a new thing. I got to ask Becky about that. Super dark. Dinstall's has it ready for her. Caramels, creams, nuts, coconuts, the nuggets, the fudge, the turtlettes, my favorite. And, of course, the crunches, like Cashew Crunch. Let Dinstall's pick out her favorite assortment, because they'll figure it out for you. And, of course, you got the chocolate-covered strawberries, grapes, and pineapples. Place your order to pick up next weekend. Remember, all the moms in your life love Dinstall's. You'll be their hero if you go to Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, Pleasant View, or downtown. Make it a sweet one for Mom. Get to Dinstall's. Speaking of sweet guys, the television voice of your Memphis Grizzlies, Pete Pranica, joins us now. He's going to join us every Wednesday all the way through the NBA Championship Series. So let's get your take right off the bat on what happened yesterday. The news that apparently the Grizzlies basically said goodbye to Dylan Brooks. Good morning.
Good morning. I think that, based on the reporting from Shams, that in the exit interviews, there was an agreement that maybe it was time for there to be a parting of the ways. Not in those exit meetings, but I think it was a situation where I think everybody has to think that Dylan's comments were a distraction. I think they weren't helpful to winning the series against the Lakers. He wants to be used more often. He wants more shots. His comments indicated he felt that he wasn't being used properly or wanted to be used more, maybe is a more accurate way of putting, and he shot career low numbers. So, I think philosophical differences may be the reason why, the reporting is what it is.
Do you think he made those exit interview statements, which, after Taylor Jenkins is saying, we're not talking the talk anymore, we're just going to walk the walk. And he said, no, I'm not changing at all. And then he complained about management's use of just making him a 3-and-D player and no calls, I guess, offensively for his number. Do you think those things came prior to the Grizzlies' decision or after? In other words, they were a reaction instead of maybe him asking to be jettisoned.
I think probably both sides were seeing things through a slightly different prism. Dylan has his ideas of how he should be used and the style that the Grizzlies should be playing, and the coaching staff, probably has a different view. Like I said, Dylan was shooting very poorly this year, and it's like, okay, we have Luke Kennard and Desmond Bain to shoot threes. Are you going to be that 3-and-D guy? Obviously, a very valuable perimeter defender, but offensively, it was a struggle for him this year. And when you think about his prior years, he was a good offensive option. And you think about the 30-point game in Game 6 against Golden State last year, and you think about him averaging 20-plus against Utah in the playoff series, before that. Like I said, I'm just going to go back, Wolo, and I think it's just philosophical differences about how he wanted to be used, felt he should be used, and it's entirely possible the Grizzlies were like, we don't see eye to eye on how this is being done.
All right, so now Zach Kleiman has to find somebody to replace Dylan Brooks in that role, get another defender, get another shooter. How tough is that going to be? And can there be a sign and trade deal that can be executed to cash in on the worth of Dylan Brooks?
Well, that would be ideal, to do the sign and trade so that he just doesn't walk for nothing. There's going to be interest in Dylan because there are going to be teams that like somebody that play with a hard-nosed energy, particularly on the defensive side of the floor. You think about how many teams like Jimmy Butler and what he brings to the table as somebody who is a hard-nosed defender, better offensive game than Dylan. But I think there are going to be teams out there that are going to be interested in having him. How exactly that plays out remains to be seen. Obviously the reporting that, well, we don't want you in Memphis anymore, assuming that all this is accurate, doesn't necessarily help trade value.
No.
So
you lose leverage, as they like to say. As your old buddy Sean Tui used to like to say, life's all about leverage.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And so it's going to be I think it's going to be a challenge for Zach Kleiman to navigate this. But he's proven his worth time and time again. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that it ends up being a good outcome, really, for both parties.
So you and I talked earlier, maybe a month and a half ago, and we were talking about the Grizzlies and the run to 50 wins again and being a second seed again. But you made the point that if they lost first round, this is before you knew it was going to be the Lakers and LeBron and AD, but if they lose first round again, this would be a disappointing season. Do you still feel that way in light of losing to the Lakers first round?
At least you're not tossing me the Giannis failure question.
Yeah.
I think it is what I found. I think Game 6 was disappointing. That to me was the most disappointing thing.
Crazy.
Of anything. Played great games at home. Very easily could have won Game 1. Very easily could have won Game 4.
That's the key game right there.
It is. It absolutely is. And, one bounce, and I mean, obviously there are a lot of things that happened in that game, but I think of John Morant making a great steal, then the ball happens to, he goes to dribble and it bounces off Xavier Tillman's heel.
Right.
And then the Lakers, get a bounce and get a second chance score. If the Lakers are a normal 7 seed, then you'd say, yeah, it's disappointing. For example, the Grizzlies ended up playing Minnesota and lost that series, that'd be really disappointing because I think Memphis is a better team and would have won that matchup. The Lakers had one of the best records, if not the best record in the Western Conference after the trade deadline.
That's the best.
And they with I'm trying to remember my stats here from playoff prep. I think with LeBron and Davis on the floor together after the trade deadline, when they played in the same game, they were 9-2, and they were plus 17 points per 100 possessions. Those are just crazy numbers. And so you have an all-timer in LeBron James, and you have, a multiple-time all-star in Anthony Davis who is healthy and engaged. This Laker team's not a standard 7 seed. So I think what I found most disappointing about the playoff series was the way Game 6 unfolded. Yeah. I just did not expect that in an elimination game.
No, you said rather succinctly at the very first of your post-game show on Bally, where you said, I did not see this coming. And I am with you. I do go back to the LeBron play in Game 4, which a great player made a great play to win the game.
Right.
And if that goes the other way, I think Memphis wins this series, and I think they win it in 7. But I am perplexed because they come back and they win Game 5. And honestly, I thought it was fairly dominating the way they won it. They took that run at the end of the third quarter into the fourth, and L.A. kind of gave up the rope, and they jettisoned both LeBron and AD in the last 6-7 minutes, whatever it was, to rest up for Game 6. I got that. But to lose by 40, and really after the first 5 minutes of the game, that is stunning. And I really – what do you think is going through their psyches? Because, look, they knew they could play with this team. Look what happened the game before in L.A., Game 4. What the heck happened in Game 6?
Don't know. I mean, that to me is a great mystery. I mean, Brevin and I spend every time out looking at each other going like, what are we watching here? Was it a young team that faltered under the bright lights of LA? I don't know. I mean, to me, it was mystifying, and it was one of the hardest games, Wolo, I've ever had to do, because not only are you getting blown out, but you're looking bad doing it, and the Lakers are just clowning you after 48 hours earlier. You beat the brakes off them in Memphis, and it was like, okay, we were stunned, we were confused. Brevin and I are both very competitive, so we were angry that the team for which we broadcast was getting blown out by 40 in an elimination game. It was just a very, very, very strange night because you talk to anybody around the organization, they felt good. Hey, we get Game 5. Hey, we can get one in LA, because when you look at it, both of the regular season games in LA, the Grizzlies had an opportunity to win. If not for a Desmond Bane turnover, they probably win the first meeting. Again, they were close in Game 4. So I thought, okay, yeah, they can get over the hump. And you're right, after the first few minutes after that 5-point lead, then the Lakers just blitzed, and it was over.
Crazy, that's for sure. All right, last thing, we'll talk series next week because we'll have Lakers and Golden State probably still to talk about. And all the rest. But Joel Embiid named MVP with 73 out of the 100 votes. Jokic second with 15. Giannis with 12. Then Tatum and SGA. Only one 8th place positional vote for Ja. What do you think about the MVP voting?
I want to know who is the guy who left Jokic off his top 3. I mean,
yeah.
That's I understand where some voters may get MVP fatigue for voting for the same guy year after year. I don't have an issue with it. I mean, Embiid has been so vital to the 76ers' success, although I think I watched their Game 1 against Boston. I think they were 12-5 without him in the regular season, I hope I'm remembering that right. So, there throws a little bit of water on it. It might have been some voter fatigue, and people are tired of talking about Jokic and how great he is. I think it probably was a little more decisive for Embiid than I would have anticipated. If I had a vote and I don't, I probably would have gone Jokic, Embiid, Giannis in that order. But team broadcasters no longer get votes because,
Who does vote on that?
It's a nationwide panel of 100 media members, and several years ago, because what was happening is so many contracts were tied to all NBA postseason awards and things like that, that there was concern that in-house broadcasters would vote for their guy, perhaps not deservedly, so that they would get a bump in their contract. And so that's why team broadcasters were taken out of the equation, which
makes sense.
That's fine.
All right, my friend, thank you much. We'll talk NBA playoffs and a whole lot more. Who knows what'll happen between now and next week, but we appreciate your time and have a great day.
All right, thanks, Wolo.
That is Pete Pranica, TV voice of the Grizzlies. He's brought to you by Grind City Brewing. They got a brand new look. Go look at it. It's so good looking. It's branded now with a real clean, like a Grind City machinery kind of look. You'll love the look, just like you love Poppy's Pills, or just like you love Tiger Tail, or the new lager. Or the wheat ale. They've got it all. It was a dream of a father and son combo. They built this incredible brewery right on the river. And now they deliver this high quality, great tasting, and easy drinking craft beers all over town. You can find it at Eddie Connor's Spirit Shop. You can find it at every spirit shop all over town. And the brewery is such a cool place. Just north of downtown, right on the river. Go check it out. You'll love everything about Memphis' own Grind City Brewing. Back in a minute, we talk golf. Johnny Lyon's already on. Mickey Barker from Memphis Public Golf will join us. We'll see if we get an update on Pine Hill from him. And we make picks when we come back to Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM. And 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When I say hot wings, the first flavor that pops into your head is buffalo, right? Well, let the Crazy Coop open your mind and awaken your taste buds to a huge variety of crazy chicken wing flavors, like Buffalo Ranch, a perfect combo of ranch with just a little kick, Mango Habanero, the sweet taste of mango that's followed by the heat, or Sweet Maple Bourbon, the taste is going to remind you of chicken and waffles. Now, that's just 3 of the 27 chicken wing seasons that you can get at the Crazy Coop. Now, you can try those 3 seasonings in a lunch special on 3 whole wings or 6 party wings with a regular fry and drink for just $9.99 at the Crazy Coop, 7199 Stage Road in Bartlett. And now open the Crazy Coop Express at 1315 Ridgeway off Poplar. Now, some do like it hot, and if you're one, then try the Crazy Sweet Lemon Pepper Hot or the Crazy Suicide. But if you've got a more subdued palate, then try the 4 cheese, roasted garlic, or barbecue bacon. You want the sauces and seasonings without the chicken? Okay. Family owned and operated, the Crazy Coop. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop.
My friend and I are taking a trip to Mexico this year, but neither of us speak Spanish. So we downloaded Babbel and started learning Spanish fast.
Want to start getting conversational in another language? In as little as 3 weeks? Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons were designed by language experts to be the most efficient and effective way to learn a new language.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Make your next grill your last with Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on eating out, fuel costs, and replacing expensive grills that cannot stand up to the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with cook temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The tour heads to outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, Quail Hollow, one of the more beautiful golf courses on the PGA Tour. We're going to make our picks here in just a minute. Johnny Lyon, who made $1 million last week, and Mickey Barker, who may need to start considering having Austin Chen on all the time because he picked the winner, Tony Finau, And actually, honestly, let's be honest, that was the easiest choice to make because there are only 2 top 50 guys, and they finished 1-2. And Johnny made the wrong pick in Rahm.
You say that, Dave, but I picked second and decided to pass on Finau.
Oh, you did?
I got a little cute with the
oh
whole
my
situation.
gosh! Well, you deserve to be where you are.
That's right.
Which is
last place.
Last place. So J-Mo will be going first, Johnny second, who made that million, Mickey third, and I will go last. I still have about a $5 million lead after making about $190,000 last week. In the meantime, let me get on Johnny Lyon. I'll start with you, Johnny. What do you think about Jim Furyk? He's the new pick to be the captain of the President's Cup team for the United States.
Yeah, good pick. Everybody likes him. Yeah, he's a great player, and glad he got picked.
Yeah, I think he's liked by everybody. That goes a long way. But, there won't be any of the live players like Captain America, Patrick Reed. I don't think they're allowed to play. So Jim will have to be limited in all of that. Let's bring in Mickey Barker, too. Mickey, what do you think of that choice?
I think it's a very logical pick. All the players like him. He drew a tough straw going to Rome a few years or wherever it was when they lost the last time overseas. So to get a good shot at the President's Cup, he played well there when he played in the President's Cup back a few years ago. That's where Woody Austin fell in the lake, and that one there in Montreal. Perfect pick.
What do you guys think of Quail Hollow? It's to me, it's gorgeous. And there is news, by the way. Tiger Woods' caddy is joining LaCava. Joe LaCava is joining Patrick Cantlay this week on the bag. Johnny, is that a sign to you that we're not going to see much of Tiger at all?
Definitely, yeah. He's we're not going to see much of Tiger at all. But the Wells Fargo, and that's a great course, and of course, that's a George Cobb design. We got one of those in Memphis.
We do?
Stonebridge.
Stonebridge is a George Cobb design? I didn't realize that.
That's correct. His real claim to fame was he built the par 3 golf course at Augusta National.
Right.
So, pretty cool guy. Had about 100 golf courses he designed, most of them in North Carolina. But, yes, one of them, Stonebridge.
I'll be darned. I never knew that. That is a great story. What Mickey, is your perception of Quail Hollow? I know they used to do great things to try to improve the field. They would take they would get a jet plane and they would take the players' wives to like New York City on a shopping spree. They were really smart, and the course is supposed to be beautiful. Have you ever played that, Mickey?
I have not. I've never played over there. I watched it a lot on television. It's a big, big golf course now. I mean, it's they were talking about that. They're playing almost 700 to 800 from the back if they want to. Just going to be a bomber's golf course for the most part. Of course, they're all bombers now. I mean, even the shorter hitters are 300 plus. So it's a big ballpark for sure.
All right, I got a question for you. It's a superintendent question, but you're over all the golf, so you know all the agronomy and the business side of the darn thing. When the heck are we going to get grass? Is it a combination of it's got to be 140 degrees day and night for grass for Bermuda to grow? I mean, where are we with grass in Memphis?
It's been tough. I mean, we've had years like this in the past. It's just been a long time. The magic number is 150. Your high and low temperatures added together. Once we can get to 150, you're going to see, very good growth out of Bermuda. It turns green. I was reading some blogs from superintendents around the country. Everybody's feeling the same thing. It's, Bermuda comes up, it turns green, and it just kind of sits there until we get those warm nights. That's kind of pushing us back at Pine Hill. We needed that growth this spring to get more ready to open. So we're just kind of waiting to see when we're going to set that opening date for it. We're hoping that it's going to be toward the end of May, 1st of June. But we're kind of at the mercy of Mother Nature.
So you do not have a set time period yet for the opening of that.
We have some dates in our mind that we would like to hit, but right now we're just it's kind of wait and see. We're waiting on the construction company over the parking lot, the temporary clubhouse, so we can get in and out of the property. We're waiting on growth on the grass. We're doing some sodding next week where we lost some grass from the winter, where it just wasn't established well enough to make it through that harsh time that we had right at Christmas time.
And then at a place like Galloway, where I love the fact that you do the on path for the carts until May to let the grass grow in. Are you off paths now because it's May?
Yeah, we are on most of them. We still have a few holes that we're staying on, but we saw some improvement for those 3 weeks or so that we were off the path or on the path. It helped. So we're about ready to start our fertilizing program for the spring, for the summer. So hopefully we'll see big improvements over the next few weeks.
All right, let's make our picks for this week at Quail Hollow, and we'll begin with J-Mo, who's now in his usual number one position.
I had to kick Brian Takis out of the room because we'll pick on Sports Time. He can't be privy to my picks early.
I hear you. That's very good.
My first pick this week. I think I'm going to take a little flyer here. I'm going to go with Jason Day, a little bit outside the top 30, but I think that's going to be my first pick.
Well, I hate to say this, and I don't know why. Maybe you guys do. Jason Day is number one in the power rankings. He must do well at Quail Hollow because I know he's improved form of late, but I would not make him the favorite. Would you guys make him the favorite?
No.
I would not think so, no. But he's high on the list, definitely high on the list.
All right. Well, he's J-Mo's number one pick. So, Johnny, you could have taken Finau. Yes. Last week you took Rahm. They're both hot as could be.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Well,
yeah,
they both
Rahm.
have 4 wins in 10 months. They're the 2 hottest guys on tour. Who are you taking this week?
Well, I'm taking Rory.
I can't blame you for that. Going with Rory. All right. Mickey, who do you like on this course?
I think the change in caddy, as you talked about earlier, I think it's going to make a big difference. It made a great difference with Scotty Scheffler when he picked up Bubba Watson's caddy. So I'm going to take Patrick Cantlay.
All right. That's interesting. I'm going to go with Max Homa then.
I was hoping you would do that. He's not playing very well right now.
Yeah,
so
I kind of like Max Homa.
He got a big lead anyway.
I'm trying to let you guys back in here. There were a couple others. I am really counting on, for my second pick, a guy I really think is going to win. I didn't think you guys would take him, so that's what I'm hoping on. J-Mo.
I'm going to go down my list a little bit here. I'm going to take with my second pick Tyrrell Hatton this week. I think he has good form coming in. I believe he's done well at this tournament in the past, too. I'm excited for him.
Okay. Tyrrell Hatton. Johnny?
Gonna go with Xander.
Going with Xander. Can't blame you for that. I almost took him first in my first round. So, Mickey, who are you going with? There are so many good guys available.
There are, but so far this year he's been pretty good to me. He played well there in the President's Cup, so I'll take Jordan Spieth.
Spieth? Wow. So you guys have left me Hovland, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Tony Finau coming off a victory. But you know who I'm going to go with? Because this is the guy I think is going to win, and I knew I'd get him in the second round. I am going with Tom Kim to win his second golf tournament. Love that guy. Now we go with Shock. You got to be 51 and above in the OWGR World Rankings. Who are you going with, J-Mo?
I'm so stuck here. I'm going to take I'm going to go with number 68, Cam Davis. I'm going to take Cam Davis.
Cam Davis. Okay. Johnny Lyon.
Going to have to go with number 51, Keith Mitchell.
Yep. He's the highest of that guy. I saw it.
I almost went Yeah, with my second pick, I almost jumped down above 50 for this player. So I'm glad y'all left him for me. Ricky Fowler.
You're going with Ricky. I'm going to go with a guy way down there. I'm going to go with Bo Hostler, who played decently last week.
2 weeks in a row, he's played well.
Yeah. He's 128 in the world. So I'm taking a flyer, but I'm going with him. So here's the lineup. J-Mo with Jason Day, Terrell Hatton, Cam Davis. Johnny's got Rory Zander and Keith Mitchell. Mickey's got Patrick Cantlay with a new caddy, Jordan Spieth, and Ricky Fowler. I've got Max Homa, Tom Kim, and Bo Hostler. And those are the lineups. Guys, can't thank you enough. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Wolo. Good pick last week,
Dave.
Austin. See you, Mickey.
See y'all.
All right, Mickey, thank you. That'll do it for us. Again, Johnny Radio off, but you've got the dynamic duo of J-Mo and Bryant. See if they got any other stories they can break today. Somebody else going to be leaving? Who knows? That'll do it for us. This final portion of the show brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. And don't forget that Super Saver tune-up, the 16-point tune-up, means your system won't break down in these hot months. Conway's at 384-3511, by the way. Won't break down, so your house stays cool. It's efficient, which means you save money on your energy bill, and your system lasts longer. These things are not cheap. You want it to last as long as it can. It does with the help of Conway. That super tune-up, $69. I do it twice a year for heat and cool. You got to do it in the summer, that's for sure. 384-3511, or go to conwayservices.com for all the details. See ya tomorrow, everyone. Have a great day. Homer Skelton Hyundai.